What's up, guys? My name is Doofus Mcdooface, and finally, we have a Fiesta guide. You guys have asked, have begged, and I'm ready to actually put in the work and give you guys a decent overview of how Fiesta works, how to Fiesta, and a lot of Fiesta starts. So thank you for asking, and if you guys are looking for more guides, please like, please comment. The plan is a mercenary guide next. But without further ado, here is my Fiesta guide, which will be broken into 3 parts is my plan. The first part, I'll be talking about how Fiesta works, just in case you are newer to the game and don't really understand what Fiesta even is, or you just want a little bit more information about how Fiesta works, things like that. That'll be the first part. The second part, sort of just like what masterminds work well with Fiesta, what sort of game situations work well with it. I don't think that part will be too long. And then I will probably, this video might be longer than an hour, to be totally honest. I'm going to do as many Fiesta openers as I know of, probably waves 1, 2, and 3, and sort of tell you which ones are my favorites, which ones I usually don't do. But yeah, that's the plan. And I hope you guys enjoy this, and it's very useful for you. So, number 1, how does Fiesta work? So, we're starting a game up, and we see one of the masterminds that says Fiesta. When you leak, gain 10 to 50 gold based on the wave number. So let's click on that. And let's talk about what that means. Now, this is not up to date, by the way. But this should give you a decent understanding of what it exactly means that you get 10 to 50 gold. So if you leak on any given wave as Fiesta Mastermind, if that is the mastermind that you pick, you will earn gold, a flat amount of gold. Now, I believe these numbers are off a little bit, as it says 10 to 50, so you get a little bit less Fiesta gold now. But once again, this should give you a sort of overall idea. So wave 1, you leak, you get 12 gold. Wave 2, you leak, 14 gold. Wave 3, you leak, 16 gold, and so forth. Now, how does that play in to the Fiesta Mastermind? Well, what it means is that you want to leak as little as possible every wave, right? So let me just show a quick example of that. Right, let's just go ahead and leak here on wave 1. And another really cool thing with Fiesta is that it's the only mastermind that actually shows you, it'll show you the gold you've gained and lost from Fiesta. Bingo. And then we're going to have to just wait a second so it says that the gold is lost. So I gained 10 gold from Fiesta. Okay? I leaked 67%. And it's going to say total lost to the leak. So I lost 8 gold. Right here. In the bottom left, just in case you guys aren't seeing. I lost 8 gold. But I gained 10 from Fiesta. Now that's okay. That's actually pretty good, right? It's a positive number. And the closer you get to a positive number as Fiesta, the better you're going to be at Fiesta. Now, just a genuine overview, most Fiesta games, I'm probably ending the game minus 20, minus 30 on Fiesta. And you're probably thinking, well, Doofus, then it's a bad Fiesta game, right? Not really. Because the overall picture of Fiesta, of course, yes, you want to leak to get the Fiesta gold, but you also want to have the most workers while long waves are occurring, right? So let's just break this down for a second, right? Just think this through. If you were to start a normal game with atoms on wave 1, right? If you were to start a normal game wave 1 with atoms, this might be what you start, right? And you start with 250 gold. Bam. So you'd be 3 workers. You're starting the game with 3 workers. Now, as Fiesta, that is not what you do, right? Fiesta, this is a Fiesta start right here. I have 110. So I would actually be pushing 2 workers, right? Because 250 minus 110, I'd be able to buy 2 workers. Okay, just so you guys understand. Right, I would have had 140 gold left over, and I was able to buy 2 workers, and I'd have 40 gold left over. So the idea of Fiesta is to push more workers and try to leak the least amount possible. So that's the basics for the starting of Fiesta, right? What percentage do I aim for in most Fiestas? It's going to be 40%. I'm going to aim for a 40% Fiesta almost every wave. That is what I'm looking for to be a good Fiesta. And even the game sort of tells you that too. So when we saw that 67%, it was orange. If we were to have an 83%, it would be red. And here I believe this one is 33. It might be 42. Let's see. 42, so it's still orange. Now, if I get that one less, if I had killed one more unit, this would have been yellow. And so yellow is sort of the area you want to be in. Now, it's not easy. It's not, I've played a lot of Fiestas, and that is not easy to accomplish. But the key in most Fiestas is going to be the leak 40% or less is sort of your goal. Now, when should you Fiesta? My personal view is I want to leak 2 to 3 waves and like wave 1, 2, 3, 4. That is like a perfect Fiesta angle for me, right? Wave 1, maybe I build for snail, maybe I don't, right? And we'll get in, I'll explain that in a second. Maybe I build for snail, maybe I don't. So I don't Fiesta on 1 because they didn't snail. But then I've pushed to 6 workers, so I definitely leak on 2. And then I leak on 3. And then now I don't want to Fiesta anymore, right? I've gotten my 2 or 3 Fiesta leaks. I'm done. And I want to start holding and using that Fiesta gold to build an economy and sort of scale in the game. And I don't want to purposely leak anymore. And what I mean by purposefully mean, normally as Fiesta, you're going to try to leak on purpose, right? Normally, because it gives you gold, your Mastermind, you don't get any income, you don't get any additional gold. The only way to properly use your Mastermind is to leak, right? So you're probably going to want to force, right, leak on purpose at least once or twice. At least once or twice, 100% you are leaking, regardless of if you get a snail, a DT, 2 snails, brute, whatever. You're going to leak to the basic wave. That is Fiesta. Now, I know there's a couple of people that do play Fiesta only. Their entirety of their game is only leaking to aggressive sends. I personally, I would prefer to leak once or twice to a no send, right? To no power mercenary send after me. Now, I did talk about there for a second what it's like to leak to a snail, right? To a send or no send. So this is where you're sort of gambling. And that's where Fiesta is a gamble, right? There are certain builds that it's probably worth, because you get that extra worker, to just push the worker, don't care if you leak. And there's other Masterminds where it might be worth to only leak to a snail, right? To only leak to a resend snail on 2, right? So you have to sort of, Fiesta is, it's not simple, right? It does take a little bit of brain power, a little bit of thought. Will I leak here to no send? Will I leak here to ascend? Do I hold to ascend? Right? And you sort of have to gauge how you want to play the game. Now, once again, me personally, unless I've played a lot of Fiestas, because that does change. If you have like 6 or 7 Fiestas in your match history, right? I mean, there's a lot to Fiesta. I'm going to tell you guys right now. If you have a lot of Fiestas in your match history, you know what that might mean? You might receive a snail on 1, right? You might receive a snail on 1, or 2, or 3, right? Which is going to increase the size of your leak. Now, you can use that to your advantage if you guess correctly, but if you don't guess correctly, and then you don't Fiesta because they did not send, then it's sort of you losing the mind games. So me personally, I usually like to Fiesta wave 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, right? 2 or 3 of those I'm leaking on purpose. And then if they get me on 1 with a big send, like if they send me 2 snails on 2, or if they send me a full 60 on 3, so be it. I'm 6 workers at that point, right? So that's sort of the genuine idea. Now, more so with Fiesta, now I'm sure you guys are probably asking, Doofus, you're saying only leak a couple of times, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is true. Yeah, that would be my personal idea. I do, however, think sometimes it can be advantageous to leak on purpose later on in the game. There's only a few situations where that makes sense. And almost all of them is when you're going for a long save, right? Let's say you're a nasty starver, right? Starver means somebody that saves a lot of Mythium, right? Let's say you sent last on wave 5, right? And then you're aiming for a wave 8 send by yourself or with your teammate, and you say, I want to send a GK on 8, right? Really nasty send. But I want to send a Ghost Knight on wave 8. Now, if your Mythium is really close to like 200, 220, 230, you're not sure if you're going to get it, you might on purpose leak on wave 7, because that wave 8 is the wave you want to send, so the next wave you want to send, and you want to be able to send that GK in income for the 60 income, right? Or that ogre, or that mole, whatever you're trying to send, if there's a break point that you need to get to, it might be worth leaking. It might be worth leaking. Now, as the game gets further on, let's just bring this thing up one more time, right? As the game gets further on, the gold that you earn is so minimal to the leaks and the gold lost that by wave 8 or 9, a 40%, as I said, a 40% leak is really not that good in terms of gold gained, right? It almost, I mean, you would almost, let's just take wave 8, right? Let's do a wave 8 here really quick. Let's see if I can dial up a perfect wave 8 and leak 25 to 33%, right? Let's aim for that. I'm going to try to leak 25 to 33% and sort of see. I think right here this should leak pretty good. Let's see the gold gained from Fiesta and then the gold lost because I leaked. Perfect, Adam. Wow. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty big leak. This is going to be a pretty big leak. And you're going to see 67%. I gained 24 gold, and it's definitely not worth it, right? So I gained 24. It was -8, so we'll just use subtraction, right? -8. Holy moly, right? That's awful. I lost 56. 56 gold was my lost, right? 24 was my gain. That was awful, right? And it was a 67% leak. So the later in the game, right, on this is perfect. Wave 1, we leaked 67%, and we were +2 gold. Wave 8, we leaked the same amount, 67%, and we lost whatever number I just 56 minus 32 gold, right? So we lost a ton of gold at that point, to where it's really not worth it. Unless that one circumstance to where maybe you're going for a real big send on wave 9, you and your teammate are playing really aggressive, and it might be worth the aggressive play to leak there. Might. Another one, right, would be over. Oh, this is perfect. We have overwork on 11, right? We have overwork this game. This is literally the perfect situation. So let's go to wave 11 here. Overwork is the one spell, also a PTA, right? If you were aiming for an aggressive wave 12, almost all situations, if you're using Fiesta correctly, it is if you're going for an aggressive play, right? You're going for an aggressive play. Okay, so I'm generating more Mythium because I have Overwork. During 11, I'm kind of wanting to Fiesta here, right? I want a really long wave because I generate 60% Mythium, right? I'm generating 60% Mythium faster. So I'm totally fine with leaking here. I mean, this is just a perfect Fiesta, right? This is a beautiful one. I'm totally fine with leaking here because it allows me to generate more Mythium. So, and this is 25%. See, we've got a yellow leak, right? I gained 30 gold. So I was plus 10, right? Or now I'm plus 10. Minus 64. And 36. So even with a perfect, right? This is another great example. Even with a perfect 25%, only leaked 3 units right there, I lost 6 gold because I gained 30 from Fiesta and my loss to leaks was 36, right? I lost 12 gold per creep and I gained 30 gold from the Fiesta for a overall minus 6 gold. However, in that situation where I'm using Overwork, that makes sense. So pretty much my overall sort of thing that I'm trying to tell you guys, I like how I was blocking that. Overall, what I'm trying to tell you with how Fiesta works is you get gold based on your leaks, right? But a flat rate. It is a flat rate. You want to be as close to not leaking, but leaking 1 or 2, 3, 4 as possible, right? And then you really want to stop leaking in wave 5, 6, 7, 8. You want to stop leaking as quickly as possible because the gold that you gain versus the gold that you lose, it becomes super unbalanced, right? At the start, it's like I get a ton of gold even if I leak big, and then it starts becoming I only get a little bit of gold even if I leak small, right? So stop fiesting, and I'll see this a lot with really good Fiesta players who start perfect games, right? They start really good, and then they continue fiesting on wave 8. They continue fiesting on wave 9. They continue fiesting on 10. You have to know when to stop fiesting. That is a truly, truly important thing to learn, is you got to know when to stop fiesting so that you can start scaling. Because if you had a really good Fiesta game where you generated a lot of gold and a lot of Mythium because you had more workers during these long waves, right? You should be able to start scaling, right? You should theoretically be able to start scaling. But if you just keep fiesting, you just keep feeding gold to your opponents, and that doesn't work very well. Now, I will say one more thing just to understand how Fiesta works. And this is the part that you might get teammates who aren't fans of you, right? There's 2 parts to the teammate thing. We do have a small community in Legion, so I think it's important to talk about. Fiesta, right, punishes your teammate. It's the truth. Fiesta punishes your teammate in 2 ways. Number 1, your teammate cannot be, without paying to the king, your teammate cannot be super, super pushed because normally if you leak, right, you leak 30%, your teammate has to cover the mid or you're going to take king damage, right? So your teammate almost has to be a little bit overbuilt more than usual when playing with a Fiesta teammate, right? And some people want to push really hard and not care about their teammates. Well, if you have a Fiesta teammate, that matters, right? Because if I pro leak as Cartel or as any other Mastermind, I pro leak, I'm feeling really good, I only leak 1 creep. Oh crap, my Fiesta teammate leaked 50%. Now we've got a 50% leak plus my 1 creep leak attacking our king. Super bad, right? Not good. So that can be a disadvantage to Fiesta. Teammates might be upset. Another thing, right? I wish we had the 4 players in the game. So the opponent sending me, right? Which would be this guy over here, right? The opponent sending me gains gold when I Fiesta, right? Even if I Fiested 1 or 2 creeps, that opponent is getting gold. Now the other guy gets gold, but the person sending you gets the most gold, right? If you've ever heard of revert Bert. That's what they're discussing. The person sending Fiesta gets a ton of gold for free, right? Without them even sending, right? Let's say wave 1, 2, they don't even send a snail. They just do king ups. And I leak wave 1, wave 2 to no send. They're going to get gold for free. So what that does is it helps them scale, and it can put more pressure on your teammate, right? It can put more pressure on your teammate because now the person sending you might be able to hit that threshold and push an extra worker because of the free gold that was given. Or the earn gold if they send you a snail, DT, brute, whatever it is, right? So if you do play Fiesta, understand that you might have teammates that are upset with you, or teammates that you really got to work with and say, hey, teammate, I think I might leak here, just letting you know. Or you might have a teammate that says, hey, teammate, I'm getting starved. I'm going to leak on 7. Please don't Fiesta here, right? And so you probably are going to be really much better off not Fiesting on that wave, right? You probably are going to do really well communicating with Fiesta because you got to think you've already got a little bit of an upset teammate. Let's try not to piss them off. All right, let's get into part 2. What pairs well with Fiesta? Well, as we said, a positive teammate, a teammate that communicates. That pairs well. But let's go purely to the Mastermind. That's what I'm sort of referring to here. What pairs well with Fiesta? I'm thinking about Masterminds that pair well with Fiesta, right? Because you might get a teammate that says, hey, you click on Fiesta. Sometimes you'll get a teammate that will ping it, say, hey, you select Fiesta. I know you're Doofus Mcdooface. I know you play a lot of Fiesta. Go ahead, play Fiesta. I'm ready to defend the mid lane. I'm ready to deal with a Fiesta teammate, pretty much, right? So let's think about what Masterminds work really well with Fiesta. I would say there's about 2 or 3 of them. The first one is Cartel. Cartel Fiesta has to be one of the best combos in the game. Just flat out. Not even Fiesta, not even like that. That is one of the best combos in the game. And you sort of need game comprehension to understand this. So with Fiesta, I'm leaking at least a couple of times. Cartel starts with the most income, right? So they sort of have a lead at the start. So they have a lead at the start of the game. But they lose income after wave 10. Now, Cartel wants long waves. Guess who gives long waves? Fiesta. Fiesta gives long waves, which is exactly what Cartel wants because they already have a lead. So they want that wave 1 through 10 to just be crazy long so that 9 income can compound to 200, 300 income, right? So the longer the waves are going to benefit Cartel. All right, so I would say Cartel and Fiesta. If you can get a Cartel teammate or a friend that is totally cool with you playing Fiesta and they play Cartel, that is something I would really work on. Can work really well. Another one that works super well is Kingsguard. Kingsguard literally buffs your king, right? And if you're Fiesta, right, a lot of the times your teammate won't be able to cover the mid, right? So if you go Fiesta and Kingsguard, although your teammate might not have covered the mid, the king is already stronger, ready to defend the additional leaks, right? So your teammate leaks, you leak because you're Fiesta, but you've got Kingsguard, so you don't take as much damage as you would in a normal game, right? That is super beneficial. Now, this is a little more in-depth, but I'm going to keep going with it. Another Mastermind, or sort of unit, that works really well with Fiesta is Anglers, right? Anglers work really well with Fiesta. If you are the Fiesta's teammate, right? Angler is a unit that generates mana, generates stacks when an enemy dies, right? When a creep dies. So if your teammate goes with an Angler start, right? That is super useful, right? Because you can be feeding your teammate stacks so that whenever they choose to go with the bounty hunter and then the kingpin, it will be stronger, more powerful. So if you have that teammate that's overbuilding with anglers, it's worth it to Fiesta, because not only are you helping your own game, you're also helping your teammate's game. That is one really strong play style. If you've ever seen like Flower Angler, like double lock-in Flower Angler is actually pretty nasty. A lot of people have been doing it. The teammate of the Fiesta player would go Flower Angler, and they would just take over the game. They would just absolutely take over the game because they start just like Flower Angler. They're able to still push workers while getting the stacks, and they just really scale once they get that kingpin. Once they get that kingpin, they always cover your Fiesta leaks, and they're able to push workers. It really is a great combo with Fiesta. But you've got to make sure to get that kingpin. Your Fiesta teammate has to make sure to get that kingpin before you both get smacked in the face. I'm thinking those are most of the good pairings. Champion could also be good, but like when I'm really thinking about what pairs amazingly with Fiesta, it's Cartel, it's Kingsguard, and then if you have an angler teammate. Now, what things do I think don't pair well, right? Just warning you, right? Because maybe you like playing Fiesta, but your teammate, excuse me, your teammate clicks it first, right? Your teammate clicks the Mastermind first. From my perspective, I don't believe Castle, right? Castle plus 46 income after wave 10. It's a great late game Mastermind, right? But Fiesta, right, as in Castle, doesn't start with anything extra, right? Fiesta starts with 250 gold. Castle starts with 250 gold. They're the only Masterminds, right? Unless I'm crazy. I guess Champion, but Champion starts with someone, right? They're the only two Masterminds that start with absolutely nothing special at the start of the game. So you're both kind of behind. And now your Castle teammate is trying to cover the Fiesta with nothing extra. It's a bit risky. I usually wouldn't do that one. I would sort of stay away from that. And another, just singling out lock-in. You can be put in a fortunate situation here where you've clicked Fiesta and your teammate starts Sakura. Your teammate starts Sakura, and you're in a bit of a pickle, right? It can work. Sakura and Fiesta can work, but remember, and also bigwigs, right? We can show bigwigs as well, bankers. Whereas anglers is sort of good to leak as Fiesta, helps your teammate. Going Fiesta when your teammate is Sakura or banker or bigwig, right? Or egg, right? Although I really hope your teammate's not egging if you're Fiesta. These things will punish your teammate, right? Because they are starting with lower workers, right? Because you'd be at 2 workers. Sakura's starting at 2 workers. Bankers are going to be overbuilt, right? So they have less workers, whereas you're going for more workers and longer waves. So sometimes you got to work around that. Maybe you don't leak on one on purpose. Maybe you only build to leak to a snail. So it might sort of force you to change up your sort of gameplay. Now, sometimes you just say, whatever. I got a Sakura teammate. He chose to go Sakura. I'm going to play my Fiesta game. He's going to play a Sakura game. Whatever. Who cares? Right? That is just part of the game. Right? So overall, with sort of idea number 2, know that there are better ways to play Fiesta Mastermind-wise, and there are worse ways to play with Fiesta Mastermind-wise, right? And even if you're not a Fiesta player, maybe you can take that. When you see that your teammate has gone Fiesta, right? Don't go for lock-in Sakura. Don't play bigwigs, right? Don't go for that Grarl egg if you know you have a Fiesta teammate, which is going to punish you, right? Try to not punish yourself by avoiding those things, right? And then if you see that a teammate has clicked Castle, or you know that your teammate loves locking in Sakura, maybe you just take Fiesta off for that game, right? Maybe try a different Mastermind, because you don't want to play at a disadvantage, right? You don't want to play at a disadvantage. All right, and what you've all been waiting for, and I'm hoping this takes less than 30 to 45 minutes, but Fiesta Openers, here we go. Let's go ahead and reset everything, and let's look at some Fiesta Openers, right? I'm going to try to deliver all of them, at least all that I know of. I'm going to do a ton of rolls and then see what we have left over, right? Let's go through a couple of rolls. I'll tell you how I would Fiesta. Yeah, I'm going to tell you how I would Fiesta, and then I'll just lock in some units or make sure I roll those units so that I can tell you this needs to be Fiesta, right? So number one here, I'm Fiesta, right? I start with 250 gold, right? The easiest Fiesta in here is Tempest Looter. Tempest Looter, I get to go 5 workers, right? I get to push the 3 workers because I'm just placing 90 and 10, which is 100, right? And you can Fiesta pretty well. I want to say that Tempest Looter only leaks 25%. It might even be 2 creeps, right? Other angles we have is the snail leaks. Like I said, I usually don't like going for these, but let's say we didn't have the Tempest. I don't want to go for Infiltrator Looter, right? I'm trying to go for the better Fiestas that don't get absolutely destroyed by snails. So yeah, so my number one ranking here would be Tempest and a Looter. Then it would be the Snail Leakers, right? Gate Guard leaks to a Snail, 33 to 42%. Willish Room leaks to a Snail, I believe it's 67%, right? And nowadays, there's actually Crab Warlock. Crab Warlock leaks to a Snail, and it takes about 5 years. But it does leak, right? It does leak. So let me see if I can do speed this up. And we can just go through a couple of these. Have to hit ready, I guess. So this would be my first choice of this roll. Would just be Tempest and a Looter. Should always leak without the snail, unless I'm crazy and I look stupid. But I'm good, right? 33. I believe that's 25 if I don't have the playback sped up, right? And if I get a snail, I get a snail, right? But for most of these, let's just see the best case scenario, right? That's the best case scenario. And you're probably just pushing a 6 workers and adding a couple of looters. I'm known to be a very bad tier 1 spammer, but because I play Fiesta, I think spamming tier 1s is okay. So with this roll, that's what I would do. I would go Tempest I would go Tempest Looter with 5 workers at the start. Then I would push to 6 workers, and then I would not go 7. I'm not crazy. Then I would add like 2, 3, 4 looters, whatever gold I have left over, and probably leak a little bit on wave 2, right? And then wave 3 with this situation, probably want to add a Willish Room. Although I'm just trying to show you the wave 1, wave 2 Fiestas here, at least with how I've chosen to roll, right? So that would be my angle, right? Just add a couple more looters. That's about what I'd have. Pretty sure this always Fiestas. A snail would kind of hurt. Although maybe you just hold, right? I guess you just hold, right? I'm learning every day how to Fiesta. So that's one of those situations where I would leak great to a snail, and I wouldn't leak without it. I would not leak without the snail. And then right here, once again, this is sort of what I would build on wave 3. I would aim for that Willish Room. It's pretty unlikely they're going to save on you, because this will hold. This is going to hold. But this is sort of the angle I would go for, and I would have 6 workers. That would be my plan if I started with the Tempest. If I started with the Tempest and the Looter as my first Fiesta opener, that would be the plan. Starting 5 workers, going 6 workers on wave 2, adding a Looter 2, 3, 4, just because I have the leftover gold. That's what I like to do. and then hopefully adding a Will Shroom or Arcane Tank. Maybe you have a Cat, maybe you have Aquas, right, to protect your wave 3. And then we've got this situation, right? We've got the snail situations where Willishrooms and Gate Guards, they leak to snails, right? I believe it's 67%. So both of these units do not leak without a snail, right? So you only Fiesta, 58 here. You only Fiesta if you receive a send, right? So it's not how I always like to play, but sometimes, right? Sometimes you get a roll that has no Fiesta options, right? No Fiesta options outside of you have to leak. You have to leak to ascend only, right? Because if you have a ton of masks or a ton of aquas, right, and you start doing those really wild Fiestas, it's not great. Great Gate Guard's a beautiful one when you get receive a snail. One thing to say with Gate Guard, as well as Willishroom, 6 workers might not be the best here, right? Because Gate Guard is a spawner, right? Adding like 3 looters on 2, if I don't get ascend, is okay-ish. But if you receive that snail on 2, you get absolutely walloped, right? So a lot of times I'm actually playing defense on wave 2. Like if I'm going to be totally honest with you, it does depend on whatever unit you have. But a lot of the times I'm playing more defense wave 2 in case that they send a snail. And the reason you're almost, a lot of times, going to receive a snail is if your opponent has 5 workers, right? Or 4 workers, sometimes 4. And you leak on wave 1, everybody is generating Mythium. And a lot of times they're able to hit that breakpoint where they can send a snail before the wave ends, right? So they're not going to reject the income. They're going to send that snail, right? So it becomes not a situation of, am I going to receive a snail after income wave 2? It just becomes I'm probably going to receive a snail in income wave 2. And so that's why you sort of have to decide, do I want to build for snail or not? On wave 2, right? As well as wave 1. That is how Fiesta works, right? But yeah, just for some purposes to see, like, let's say I went 6 workers with this, right? Let's say I went 6 workers with the Harbinger, and they send me a snail. This is not going to be a good leak. Because with a spawning unit, I do not get that extra spawn out. I leak 71%. That's not so good, right? That's not amazing. That's not an amazing leak, 71%. So that's a situation where, like, maybe you want to not push the worker, right? This is really in depth here. We'll just keep using this roll, right? Let's go ahead, not push to 6 workers here, right? Let's assume that I'm 5 because I was Gate Guard. I went 5 on wave 1, right? And I go for a Pack Rat. So I will not leak here. I will not leak on wave 2 to the snail, which they do send, right? Then what I do, I stay 5 workers because this is Pack Rat. This is a little next level tip for you guys, right? Right? I hold, I hunt the Pack Rat, and add another unit. Right? So now I'm super under, right? Super under, and I have a hunted Pack Rat. So I have the chance to Fiesta, and I'm gaining Mythium. So if I don't leak, who cares? I get the Mythium from the rat. If I do Fiesta, I get the Mythium from the rat, and I get Fiesta Gold. So that's just sort of one of those, like, next level things, right? So sometimes with certain builds, it is worth to maybe not Fiesta on wave 2, right? Or maybe overbuild on wave 2. Now we do have Crab Warlock, which only leaks to a snail on 1, and it is the world's longest wave. Just warning you, if you go Crab Warlock Fiesta, the wave will take 6 hours. The wave is going to take forever. Expect a 40 send at minimum a 20 send. The wave is going to take so long that you better have something ready for wave 2. You really, really need to have something ready for wave 2. Wait, because it's sped up. Because it's okay, there we go. Wow. Okay, so because it's sped up, it killed one more. That should leak too. But yeah, so Crab Warlock, it's an amazing Fiesta. It's a super long wave. But because it's a super long wave, and because you're not that strong on wave 2, you need to have something to protect you. You really need to have something to protect you on wave 2. Now, this roll doesn't have that, right? I was just taking wave 1 sort of open. But I do just want to let you know, wave 2, Crab Warlock, not great. Yeah, then let's just keep going. Let's get some more Fiestas. So here's another situation where we really don't have great Fiesta units, right? This is another roll where the Fiesta units, they suck. I'm just going to be honest. These are not great Fiesta units. Like me, myself, I'm trying to think how to Fiesta with these. And this happens. This is great that it's happening on video. Sometimes you get rolls that it is almost impossible. Almost impossible to Fiesta. Right? Because yes, you could go Oathbreaker, 5 worker, and then push to 6. You leak so bad on 2. I would never recommend going Oathbreaker Fiesta. I had somebody comment that once. Don't Oathbreaker Fiesta, right? Yes, you start 5 workers, that's great. I mean, I guess maybe if you play it super safe, you go Oathbreaker Fiesta, and then you add a Ranger on 2, right? You're still going to be 5 workers. And my idea with Fiesta is always to push to that 6 worker if possible, right? But maybe this is one of those rolls where it's just so difficult, right? Like, I think I'd probably be leaning towards Sea Serpent Chain Fist. Yeah, Ranger Chain Fist is very rarely good. Slimes, Sea Dread, like... And Warpwing doesn't leak on wave 1 or 2. It does leak wave 2 to a Snail. But you're usually not going to get snailed on 2 with Warpwing. So, this is one of those times where it's a really tough Fiesta, right? But I think for me, I'd probably go Sea Serpent and 2 Chain Fists. This would be my Fiesta if I had to. This might be one of those situations. I know people love saving their rolls, where it might just be worth using the roll wave 1, right? If you just, and I might even hold here, right? But yeah, I hold here, but you leak really bad if you only have the 1 Chain Fist. So it's like, this is one of those tough situations where it's going to be really hard to Fiesta. In terms of openers, I don't really have anything for you here. So I'd probably hit the reroll and get something a lot better, which we did. We got Protons here. We've got Harpies, which we can usually make do with. Those are the main ones, right? I love me some Harpies. Love me some Protons. But for here, I think I would just take the Protons, right? I would just take the Protons. So, let's show you some Protons. And Protons is really good because I can show you wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Now, just understand, purely scientifically, Protons at the farther back, just like Harpies, generate more mana, so you will kill more creeps. So if you're purely going for those God Fiestas at the start of the game, building your Protons, or like, right, this is what you would do. This would be an amazing Fiesta on wave 1. The problem with that, right, so yes, you get this perfect Fiesta. The problem with that is now your build is janky. Your range DPS won't tank. So although it's a great start, it's going to fall off, right? You get a 33%, whereas if you build it a little bit higher up, right, it's about a 42% because the atoms aren't generating mana. And then I usually just add a second, so I go 6 workers, right? I would go 6 workers. I don't really care if I get the snail and leak 67, 75. this is what I would do. All right, I'm 6 workers right now. Yeah, I leaked 50%. Who cares? And then I'd add a second atom on the left, right? This is what I would do. But once again, I would not build this far back. Now I'm just giving you I'm giving you bad science is pretty much what I'm doing. I'm pretty much giving you bad science. But I want you to understand atoms. Maybe you didn't understand how atom works, right? As the wave starts, they're generating mana, right? So before they actually start attacking, they're up to 3 mana, which means that it increases their attack speed, right? Which thereby increases their damage done. However, when you start to add tanks, they won't be able to split tank very well. So there is that pro and con to the situation with Adam. Also, another thing, just gonna hit you guys with like 2 hours of Fiesta content and discussion. If you ever want to do a 1-unit challenge, atoms are probably top 3, top 2, top 1. Atom only Fiesta is just so fun. They are pure, right? They are immaterial, right? So they really don't have any weak waves. They don't have any great waves, but they don't have any weak waves. So if you go Fiesta Atom, it can be really fun, right? 1-unit challenge with protons only is really fun for Fiesta. Just throwing that out there. Not recommending it, but it is very fun. But yeah, let's go ahead and re-roll again. Another Fiesta. We'll just keep them rolling. I wish I could keep the Harpy here, because Harpy Devilfish is great. I'm getting some terrible Fiesta rolls here, guys. Terrible Fiesta rolls. A really ugly one is 2 bucklers. I guess maybe I could create a Fiesta here for you guys. I'm going to try to create a Fiesta here. So if it goes bad, don't make fun of me. Back in the day, this used to be a good Fiesta. It leaked 33%. But you can get snailed and it leaks really bad. So what I'm thinking is, let's say you had no good Fiestas. That was your roll. All right, you're kind of screwed. What if you added a Polywog? Does it change any of the outcome? So I'm sort of learning for myself here, right? This is kind of fun for me. Yeah, 2 bucklers. It's not pretty. You just split them evenly. A lot of my stuff is just going to be split evenly, just so you know. Whoa. Wow. Okay, wait, maybe 2 bucklers is actually a good Fiesta now. I haven't done 2 buckler Fiesta in a long time. That almost seemed like it leaks better than normal. So let's watch this again. Now, I do have it on 2 speed. Maybe that changes it. This is sort of like double cat, right? Yeah, it's exactly like 2 cats. 33%, which is a pretty decent Fiesta. But you get walloped by a snail, right? So if this is your only Fiesta and you really want a Fiesta on 1, double buckler is okay, but just know wave 1 snail destroys you, right? And you're also terrible on wave 3. So you better have a wave 3 savior. Aquas, Seraphim with Polywogs, a full flower, a Nikomata, right? The cat. Some type of magic damage or arcane that's going to save your butt on wave 3. Because if you start double buckler, you're very weak, right? Just want to warn you. But this is just terrible Fiestians, man. Let's keep going, right? And hopefully by doing all these Fiestas, I can show you guys Fiestas that you will enjoy, right? Because some people are going to want the Fiestas that leak to snails. Some people are going to want the Fiestas that leak to no-send. Some people are going to want every single Fiesta idea possible, right? That's just how it is. I think you can do Aqua Warg, but with this roll, I'm just thinking cat. But let's take a look at it, right? We're just doing Fiesta Openers. So there's 2 options with cats as Fiesta. You can do 2 cats, which will have the exact same outcome. I don't know why that ready thing is working. Which will have the exact same outcome as the bucklers, I believe. You leak 33%. Also, very bad to snail, but that's just sort of how it is with a lot of these. Right? You get snailed, it's kind of ugly. Oh, so here was a great Fiesta, right? Maybe some RNG to that. But yeah, there was just a perfect Fiesta. You also have the option of a 2-stack cat on wave 1. So you do have 2 options here. And it's just whichever you prefer. I usually do the 2-stack cat, but then, honestly, the 2 cats did really well there, so... And I leaked 42% versus 17. So 2 cats might be a little bit better. 2 cats might be a little bit better there. And I believe you hold with 3-stack cat on 2. Just sort of looking at these things. Yeah, you definitely hold wave 2. It's really good to a snail. Alright, really good to a snail there. But yeah, normally, like I said, I'm usually just going to go 6 workers in almost every case of Fiesta, whether it helps me or hurts me. Dude, 2 cats looks really good. 2 cats looks really good, guys. Yeah, so I think 2 cat Fiesta is the way to go. 2 cat Fiesta is the way to go. And then let's screw this. Screw the 2-stack cat. It's just 2 cats. This is probably the best one yet. And how many stacks can I do on this cat and still Fiesta 3? Now I have a 2-stack cat and a no-stack cat. Does this leak? To no sense. It's so close. I think it's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we've got our first slam dunk. If you get cat Fiesta, it can work pretty darn well. And you're pretty strong on wave 4. You're not good on 5 or 6. That's where maybe a pilgrim comes in handy, you know? Or something else, right? So just think about your weak waves as Fiesta. Super important. But yeah, the cat Fiesta, really, really good there. Really good there. So starting 2 cats and then 2-stack on the left. Good to know. Good to know. That is awesome. I learned something myself. Now I did have the idea of Warg Aqua. Disclaimer. 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 Fiesting with AoE is a bad idea. I'm still going to try it here. Because let's just say you have a terrible roll. What are you supposed to do? Right? I think this just straight holds. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this just holds. But then again, if it allows you to push 6 workers, right? This is one of those cases, right? Where you have no Fiesta units, right? If you just go this, and then you push to 6 workers, right? And build nothing wave 2, you probably leak wave 2. You didn't leak on wave 1, but you were high workers, right? You had a high worker count. And maybe you don't even leak here, but you've had 6 workers this long time. So what do you care? Right? Holds again. And you're 6 workers during this point. You should push during wave 1, right? So you're 6 workers there. Yeah, I didn't leak. I did not get the Fiesta gold, but I had the highest workers, right? And this is one of those cases where I had no Fiesta options, right? Sort of had a bad Fiesta roll, and I've got to do with what I can do with, right? It's just, I don't really have too many options, right? And then maybe I add something like this, right? Let's say they send me, I don't know. The good news is I've been high workers. The bad news with exactly what I've got here is that I'm aquas, right? Another beautiful Fiesta. I'm aquas. So be very, very careful with AoE, right? Because what is AoE's biggest, weakest, most horrible wave? It's wave 5. Wave 5 will destroy anyone's game and it will definitely destroy a Fiesta player's game. So if you do have to go Fiesta with AoE, right? If you have to AoE with Fiesta, with Aquas or Masks, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful, because the Hermit will destroy you. It will end the game for you. And finally, we get something good. We get Seedlings. This is like one of my favorite Fiestas. Seedlings is amazing. A lot of people actually complain that it's unfair, because even when you leak 100%, 80%, you still scale because of how the unit works. But yeah, let's take a couple of things here, and then we'll get the Fiesta rolling. So, what you do with Pixies, you can go down there, but you know, I'll tell you. So, number one, this is sort of the ideal Fiesta with Pixies. This is the ideal Fiesta with Pixies. When you start the game, you're able to push the 2 workers, right? So your 4 worker, you're gonna get the Mythium. So whenever a Pixie dies, you gain 5 Mythium, right? You gain 1/5 of 20 Myth. 1/4 of 20 Myth. I don't know why I said that, but you gain 5 Mythium at the end of the round after a Pixie dies. Now, as Fiesta, you're always thinking about, am I going to receive Ascend? Am I not? Right? Having the split even protects you from DTs, which DTs destroy Pixies. DTs, if you want a mercenary idea, right? A mercenary guide sort of pointer. DTs, and now Robos, but DTs more importantly, DTs in income destroy Pixies, right? Let me just, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to go to it right now because I'm greedy. I'm greedy. All right, I want to see it right now. Right? Let's say you had something like this. You perfectly leaked on wave 1 and you're feeling really good, and then bam. You get hit with a DT on 2. Your Pixie cannot kill the DT, right? You can't kill the DT. So although this might have been perfect wave 1, you just leaked 110% wave 2. I don't care if you're Fiesta, that is terrible. Right? That is horrible. So, the reason that we go for an even split when we're Pixies or Pixie Fiesta, some people play Pixies even when they're not Fiesta, which is crazy. But we go even split so that the sends rarely get targeted. The math on that is Seedlings do AoE damage, right? Seedlings, which is the tier 1 of Pixies, do AoE damage, so they're actually going to damage the wave creeps more than the DT. So the DT should rarely get targeted, right? Just letting you know. And we'll look at that DT again on wave 2 with some Pixies in the split. But this would be your wave 1. Right, this is your wave 1. And then you get to choose, do you just push to 5, 6 workers and leak pretty much everything on wave 2? Or do you stay like 4 or 5 worker and add a bunch of seedlings or some other crap? Right, look at how beautiful this is. Right, that's just so beautiful. So beautiful. You're really bad on wave 2. Right? So I'm normally pushing to like 5 workers and then I just add a bunch of seedlings. Right? You're still going to leak pretty bad wave 2, but you're Fiesta, you're getting the Pixie Mythium, so be it. Alright, so be it. But you see how low all these guys are? 50%. But let's just now go back to that DT. I just want to explain it one more time, why we need to build even, and why we always want a couple of seedlings in the split. The DT should not get targeted if you have 2, 3 seedlings over here. So it's that wave 2. Alright, we receive a DT. Oh crap. It goes right. And everything other than the DT is really low. So when that DT comes over, at least I was able to kill 1 or 2 more things and not get stuck on the dragon turtle. All right, I don't want to get stuck on the dragon turtle. So that's why you always want a couple seedlings on your right split, so that the dragon turtle doesn't make you leak everything. Right? The tough part about wave 3 is choosing whether you go for the second pixie or not. Right? So when you're going pixies, you sort of have to decide. Am I committing to the pixies, like waves 3 and 4? Right? Or am I going to start building other units? Right? And it's a tough call. It's a tough call. Right? So there's a world where you just go for the pixies. Right? You're probably going to get sent, but let's just look at a no send here, just see what happens. I think I just straight hold. Yeah, you just hold. Pixies is one of those things where you usually don't leak unless you get sent. Once the game gets longer and longer, or deeper and deeper. That's what she said. But that's one example. The other example would be like a cat. Right? We add a cat. We don't commit to the pixies. We just have our 1 pixie. We're aiming more for workers instead of multiple pixies. So you sort of have to choose which angle you want to go there. Right? Once again, just barely holding. If I got to send, would be a really juicy Fiesta. But there is worlds where if you are that crazy person, right, you had the second pixie on 2, and then you go for the third pixie on 4, right? Which once again can be good or bad. It can be good if you receive a send. It can be bad if you don't. Because if you don't receive a send, you have 3 pixies, and you've generated only 5 mythium, right? So you have to choose, do you want workers or pixies? One more thing to get into with these pixies, since we're here. It's wave 5, right? Let's say that this was our build, right? This is our build going into wave 5. We've had a pretty good Fiesta game so far. What's wrong with this? On wave 5, although we were protected from DTs before, now we're in danger of the boss going right. So we need to make a change. We need to either A, build a seedling over there, B, sell a seedling. I usually just do that, right? Because the boss on wave 5, the Scorpion King, is going to go whichever wave part is lifted or the right side, right? It goes to the right side first. So here, getting a really nice Fiesta hold. It's really close. It's perfect, right? It's absolutely perfection, right? Whereas, let's just look for example. Just maybe I prove my point, maybe I don't. Let's say that we did not fix it and the boss went right. Right? Now one of them is attacking that. One is attacking the Scorpion King. So this is allowing the Scorpion King to live forever, right? And so I don't leak quite as good, right? 42% versus 17%. And this is to no send, right? Imagine they send you real. I might not even kill the Scorpion King there. And then it's just a complete terrible situation. So you need to watch out for those types of things, right? But I love named pixies. I love me some Pixie Fiesta. Another great one. We've got 2 great ones here, actually. 2 great ones that I really enjoy. We have the Windhawk, which is a great Fiesta. It's one of the best. And we have a Trent, which is another good one. Trent, and you need a tier 1. You do need a tier 1 with Trent. Whether that's looters, bone warriors, buzzes, I guess a mask. Any tier 1 will work, but you do need a tier 1 for Trent. It's very important. Nope, I'm stupid. I mean, we already knew that, but okay. So, and then I'm just gonna keep taking all the low things so that I can show you some really decent Fiestas. So the first thing is Windhawk. You're gonna be able to go 5 workers. It's a great start because also with Windhawk, if you get really into the nitty gritty of the Fiesta mind games, Windhawk, right? People don't know if you're Fiesta or not. people don't 100% know if you're Fiesta. If you're Fiesta, if you go Windhawk on wave 1, right? It's a nice Fiesta. Because some people will just start Windhawk, not being Fiesta. Because it does give that 5 workers, right? You only leak 1, 2, 3. Should be 2. But in this run, we got a 3 leak, right? Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I usually like to have Aqua or Ranger with Windhawk. I believe that I could be 6 workers with Windhawk and add a slime in the split. But it's not a great leak, right? So that's the one issue with Windhawk is although it's an amazing Fiesta on 1, it's one of those just sort of like Gate Guard, right? I think it's always the impact ones. Or like it's not necessarily a perfect Fiesta on 2. I mean, this is a great Fiesta. It's not necessarily like a perfect Fiesta on wave 2. I'm gonna write this one down. Windhawk Slime, wave 2. Holy moly, that was amazing. 25%, nice. Writing that one down. But yeah, Windhawk Slime. You do need usually a 50 gold unit, 50 to 55 gold unit. I think the cat just holds there. If I'd had the cat on 2, it would have held. But yeah, I'm looking for Aqua. I'm looking for Ranger. Now I'm looking for Slime. And then worst case, we put a bunch of tier 1s, like 2 or 3. 2 buzzes. Right? 2 buzzes should be okay. 1 buzz if you're really pushed or if you leaked on 1. Well, of course you leaked on 1 because you're Fiesta. But you leaked too much gold on wave 1 and you don't have that much gold left over. Wave 3, this is pretty ugly. Hopefully you do have a cat. Hopefully you do have an Aqua or some type of magic damage. Worst case, I guess you're just going to have to add like a ton of slimes. You definitely hold the no send, but holy smokes, to like a 40 or 60, this is a very not good Fiesta. So that's where Fiesta, you really have to understand your units, right? You really have to understand your units. This is an amazing Fiesta on 1, an amazing Fiesta on 2, but it is terrible wave 3. Oh, but it is terrible wave 4, right? Like Pixies is one of those things where 1, 2, 3 is really good, and then wave 4 can get completely out of hand. But you just have to play the game. You have to get the reps in to know sort of what is weak, what is strong type of thing. Trent is a average Fiesta, right? It's an average Fiesta unit. It's one of those where you just do not leak wave 1, right? You have absolutely 0 Fiesta options. You do not leak wave 1. You are 5 workers, right? You pushed your 3 workers. ... All right, and you add the Trent. And then you go 6 workers wave 2. So you push another worker during wave 1. So now you're 6 workers on wave 2. And you add like 1 or 2 little things on wave 2. Right? 1 buzz, 1 mask, right? If you're not careful, you actually hold. You're actually going to hold on wave 2 if you're not careful. So you definitely don't want to add too much with a Trent. Because of the buff, they're actually really strong. Yeah, here is a really nice one. Right, so 2 looters, I got away with it. But that means 3 looters I would not have leaked. Right, I would not have leaked with 3 looters. And then you can also just add a 3rd Trent, another Trent on wave 3, right? Or here I had a cat. I might use the cat type of situation on wave 3. But yeah, Trent is one of those, you're able to push the 5 workers, right? Just like Oathbreaker, but you do not get destroyed on wave 2 with Trent. Even if they send a snail, it's like a 50, 60% leak, not that bad. The bigger thing with Trent, Fiesta, is to make sure that you leak on 2, right? Because if you add 2 buzzes, or you add 3 looters, or you add 2 chain fists, right? Although try not to have 2 impact fortified units since they're the exact same. If you add 2 chain fists and you don't leak, darn it. Yes, I'm 6 workers, but I really should have leaked on wave 2. So you do got to watch out for that. Oh, this is perfect. This is almost the exact same thing. We have a couple more options here. Oh, there's the banker. We've got 3 options here. I'll go through all 3 of them. I'm going to try to deliver every Fiesta possible to you guys. I really want this guide to encompass all Fiestas possible. I know it's probably going to be 2 hours long. I'm sorry, but if you really want to know all the ins and outs of Fiesta, right, you can come back to this video multiple times and really understand all the types of Fiestas. So we were just talking about Trent. Trent and Robocopter are sort of the exact same thing. Right. The only difference, right, is that you go 5 and 6 workers during the wave, right? You're gonna place the Robocopter, Whirlybird, whatever. Place the Whirlybird on wave 1 and just full push to 6 workers and do not add anything on wave 2. Whereas before with Trent, you were adding Whirlybird, do not add anything. Right? It's pretty simple. Right? And almost always on wave 3 you hold. Right? Like, if I had, like, 2 gargoyles, and I'm 6 workers or whatever, right, wave 3, this is going to hold, like, I think to even a snail. Honestly, let's stress test. I think this even holds to 2 snails, right? So I'm, like, really under here, but Whirlybird is actually super strong on wave 3. It's actually super strong wave 3. So it's actually quite hard to leak with Whirlybird on wave 3 if you're going for a Fiesta. Yeah, see, I hold. Warning with Whirlybird and Trent, especially if you invested in that second Trent on wave 3, you are very weak wave 4. Very weak wave 4 with Whirlybird and Trent, right? Same thing with the Bucklers, right? You are very weak on wave 4. Just want to put that warning out there. Yeah, so a lot of these, 3 in a row now? 3 in a row, we have no leaks on 1. Here you have Green Devil. You're going to push to 6 workers. You do not leak on 1. You do not leak on wave 2 without a snail. You don't leak on wave 2 without a snail, just so you know. But a lot of times, maybe 50% of the time, you actually will get sent on 2 with Green Devil. But this is one of those where you just sort of risk it for the biscuit. So be it. I didn't have any great Fiestas. I'm going to go Green Devil and push to 6 or even 7 workers. Hopefully you have a wave 4 out, because another terrible unit, wave 4. Right? Wave 4 is really the true Fiesta maker. Right? When I'm really thinking about it, waves 1, 2, 3, you can leak pretty bad, no big deal. It happens. Right? But if you leak really bad wave 4, now you're actually behind, right? Because wave 4 is sort of, I think, that break point where if we bring this bad boy up, 18 gold, right? Or whatever it is, 16, 15 gold, whatever it is in the actual game. That's like 2 or 3 creeps, right? That's like you need like a 25% for break even. So it becomes really difficult to nail that perfect Fiesta on wave 4. If you leak 75%, it's very bad. Very bad. So you do got to watch out for wave 4. And that's where having Harpies, Aquas, Masks. Careful with the AoEs, you know. But if you have the right units, it's fine. Right? Harpies, Wargs. If you had Consort, you should have just started that. Yeah, Warg. Howlers. Right? Things like that should protect your 4. This is a crazy one. I haven't really done it, but I have had people tell me to do it. It's just a banker on 1, right? It's just a banker on 1. This is a really crazy one. Not going to recommend it, but I do just want to show it off. Because it is a pretty cool Fiesta, right? It is a pretty cool Fiesta. Anything banker related is cool, especially if you think about like how Fiesta works. How in a perfect world of Fiesta, you leak early and then completely stop leaking. What you could do if you're going banker, or pixies, I didn't really get into it, right? These are crazy ideas, I'm just going to put them out there. If you're pixie or banker Fiesta, and you finally stop fiesting and you start sort of overbuilding a little bit, you can go from fiesting to big wigging. right? So instead of pushing workers on 6, 7, 8, 5, whatever, you go for a bigwig. Or you go for a Sakura if you're seedling, if you're like Pixie Fiesta, right? Now you need to be careful here because you could get destroyed as both of these need time to scale. But also, it's sort of one of those cases where, yeah, I killed my Sakura, but I fiested. Yeah, I killed my bigwig, but I fiested. So they sort of like back each other up. Just want to put that out there. But yeah, I really have never done the banker fiesta, but people have talked about it. So I just want to show you that it is possible, but I don't actually know. Like, I guess you probably add like a 50, 60 gold unit on 2, and then you really got to be careful with bankers, because once you start leaking with bankers, it can get really out of hand. So that is one of those things. I don't believe I've showed the consorts. Yeah, I have not showed the consorts yet, so this will be a good one. Already done a lot of these. We've got this one. Okay, so here we've got our consort fiesta, and we've got our ugly sort of seraphim polywog fiesta. This is good. I don't know why you did that, but yeah. So consort is very similar to a windhawk. The only difference with Windhawk is that you are not 5 workers at the start of the wave. You're 4 workers, and then you push to 5 or 6. Now, wave 1, perfect fiesta, just only build the consort. Really easy, simple stuff. Wave 2 is where, once again, gambling, guessing. That's what fiesta is. If you're a real pro, you should be looking at whoever's sending you and seeing what type of unit they have. Right? If the person sending you is a Sakura, a Pyro, a Bounty Hunter, and a Steed, right? You should know that the likelihood of you receiving a Snail is not happening, and so you can build the most minimal stuff possible, right? If you're really good at like hitting tab space and checking your opponent, you can know, oh, there's no chance I'm getting sent here, right? Or the likelihood is very low that I just push the 6 workers and I just leave, right? But there's the other case, right? Where if you see that you're receiving from a Bone Crusher, a Bone Crusher is the one, a Trent, an Oathbreaker, right? 5, 6 a Windhawk, right? If you know you're receiving from a 5 worker start, even a 4 worker sometimes, then it might be advantageous to build for the Snail on wave 2 with consort, right? Especially because this is a perfect one. This is one of my favorites. The Snail into consort 3 buzz is one of my favorites. It's one of those like, I gotcha. This is one of those like, I caught you, I read you perfectly, and now I get a really juicy fiesta to your Snail. Right, just an absolute beauty right there. Absolute beauty right there. You are gonna get destroyed on 3. That's where, a build like this would be really useful with Infiltrator, really useful with the Seraphim, Aquas, right? The key that I usually have been doing lately, when it comes to a wave 3, is whatever arcane unit I have, I'm usually placing it like this. This is how I've been placing it lately. Just so that I don't kill the consort instantly. Because I don't want that consort to tank the whole left side. The consort cannot tank the whole left side, or it dies really quick. Like here it dies kind of quick, but 33% to a DT is totally fine, right? Like that's not a big deal. Whereas if you're going for like normal building, and you build like that and like your usual aura position, that consort just dies so fast. That I really don't like that. I don't like how fast the consort dies. Like here I'm getting a nice split. Actually a totally different split. But look, I barely killed the DT and I leaked way more there. Right? So you sort of have to feel it out, test your splits, see what you like, what you feel like you play better with type of thing. But I mean, Consort's probably one of the best. I probably have the most games played with that. Seraphim Polywog Fiesta. It's not great. I don't like it. But yeah, it's just Seraphim, 2 polys. I've tried to do 3 poly quite a few times to get a better Fiesta, because I believe this is 42. Yeah, 42. I've tried. I can try again right now, but it is so hard to get it perfect. And then it's like you're building bad, right? The key to Fiesta is to not build too bad, right? Just like that Atoms. If you remember at the start of the Fiesta starts, I told you about the Atoms. How yes, it's an amazing Fiesta to begin the game, but then it's kind of bad. It'd be the same thing with these polys. Like if you do 3 polys sort of awkwardly placed like this, you might Fiesta like really perfectly. This might be a 1 or 2 creep leak. It also might hold. But then as the game goes on, it's not very advantageous. So yeah, like that's a beautiful Fiesta, right? That's a beautiful Fiesta there with 3 poly. Let me take off playback just to test this one. I might steal this one. I might steal this one, to be totally honest. This is actually maybe worth it. But then you have to like think of like, now I'm going to have to place a unit over here. Right? It looks so slow now with the regular playback. But now you got to think like, now I need to fix the split because the stuff's going so wonky. Right? So as the game goes on, this is going to be really weird. Dude, it looks like it's like slow motion. Because now our brains are just so used to that. But yeah, I mean, so it looks like 3 poly is a guaranteed Fiesta of 2 to 1 creeps. Right? But you need to then think of something like that, like, oh, I'm getting cooked. Now I'm going to get cooked going forward. Another thing is, polys, you just don't want to have too many of them. Like, yeah, you want a better Fiesta on 2. But you leak so bad on wave 2. Like, let's just use this, right? Let's just use this. That exact same start. You went 6 workers. It's just so ugly, wave 2. It is not pretty. I mean, I guess you want a poly on the left so that this Seraphim does a little more damage. Trying to learn on the spot here. But yeah, this is not one of those where you just push to 6 workers. Because look at 50%, almost could have been a 58. And if you get a send, it's really bad. So you definitely got to watch out for the poly. I don't love this one because of how bad it is on 2 and 3. But it's good on wave 1, and then it progressively gets worse, right? Whereas there's other Fiestas where it's like they start average and then get progressively better, right? So you've got to sort of know which are the good starts and which are the bad starts types of things. But yeah, I mean, I guess if we want to stress test, I think that wave 2 would be better if we added more polys on the left. So that maybe... But now you've got 6... You got 6 Swift things and you're asking for a Mimic, right? This is why people make fun of me. So I might increase the odds that I kill things faster over here. Right? So like, yeah, I might get a really good Fiesta. But remember, we're thinking about the entirety of the game, not just this Fiesta start. Oh man, I'm just holding here, aren't I? This is so close. Yeah, okay, so you can only add 1 poly. You add 1 poly on the left. If you copy this to a T, 3 polys over there, 1 poly over here. So it'd be like that. But once again, this is not the prettiest Fiesta, right? But you have to do with what you got, right? You have to do with what you got at the end of the day.
Welcome to no
Situation like this. I have no Fiestas, right? I have to use the polys unless I'm one of those crazy people. I'm not even going to show it, but I will discuss it here for a second. Unless I'm one of those crazy people that go like Priestess or Nightmare Fiesta, right? There are certain people that go like tier 5s and then just go like 6, 7 workers and don't really care how bad they leak on wave 3 or wave 4. I personally don't like that. I like using my tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s for Fiesta. I'm going to just force the Fiesta most of the time with a Polywog because I like playing Fiesta. But here, you literally only have Polywog. There is Wander. I'm not even going to show Wander. Wander is way too difficult. You could theoretically do Wander and Polys. You don't leak on 1, and then you leak little on 2. Screw it. Let's show it. We're about stress testing here, right? I want to say it's probably Wander and like 2 Polys somewhere. This would be my gamble, my guess. But this is going to be a tough one. Wander does, on the bright side, if you do go Wander, it's like the longest waves ever, which helps Fiesta, right? It helps Fiesta with how long Wanderers take because they come back to life after like 1 to 2 seconds. So you do have that type of advantage of like if you're pushed to 5-6 workers and the long wave is occurring, it can be beneficial. But yeah, it's like 42%. I'm destroyed by a snail. And then you go for like a Seraphim on 3, right? Seraphim on 3, you're leaking pretty decently to a 40. Maybe it's a decent Fiesta. I don't know. It might be okay. But me personally, I just don't like the Wander as a Fiesta unit. That's just me personally. Right? And that's what you have to think of, like, what do you enjoy? Like, if you're playing Fiesta, it's because you enjoy it, right? And hopefully you win with it a lot, too. Oh, lag. Oh, I think that the server crashes after you've been in here for an hour. That's exactly what just happened. Yep. I was in there for an hour, and the sandbox closed. But yeah, so it's, you have to sort of decide. Actually, I've been in there for an hour and 27 minutes. But you have to sort of decide what Fiestas you enjoy, what Fiestas you don't. And that just comes with game experience. All right, that comes with game experience.
Welcome to Nova.
Let me actually look. I think we've gotten a lot of the units so far. I do have one I can, because I see the copter right there. Let's go ahead and choose Bazooka. Bazooka and Copter. This one is from Dan Wolf. Dan Wolf showed me a really nice one here. So you have bazookas in an aura position, and then you have a Copter down half a tile. And I have the wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 here. It's actually a pretty good one. Now I don't have the Fiesta clicked, but this would be your Fiesta here. You're able to go 6 workers, I believe. 25%. Oh, nice. And it's for some reason it's still giving me the Fiesta. That's very interesting. Still giving me the Fiesta gold. And then you just go for a Copter down there on wave 2. Once again, thank you to Dan Wolf for the Fiestas. This guy sends me Fiestas all the time. And I will say, what you want to avoid the most with Fiesta is the super RNG ones, right? Like, yes, an 8%er is perfect, right? An 8%er is perfect. You can't get any better. But the problem with an 8%er is that sometimes that just holds, right? Sometimes the 8%er just holds. So although it's perfect, it can be too perfect. So you got to be careful with things like that. But yeah, here I'm holding, leaking perfectly to a 40. And you're pretty weak on 4, so hopefully you had something for 4. Yeah, let me just keep looking. Oh, we need Harpy Devilfish, Harpy Steed. What we need, so let's go double lock in. Harpies. I like Harpy Devilfish the best. That's what I like. Oh, nice. We got Peewees as well. Alright, there's just so many of these. So you build the Harpy back here. You build the Devilfish somewhere around here. This one is just beautiful. And this one, you can go 6 workers, and it's not too bad on 2. Oh, this is wave 4. Oops. You're gonna leak pretty bad there. You're gonna leak pretty bad there. The only problem I will say with Harpies in Fiestas is that usually when you add that second Harpy, you just hold, right? So I'm thinking wave 2. I'm discussing wave 2 right now. When I add that second Harpy on wave 2, I usually just hold, and that sucks because I would much rather leak, right? Perfect Fiesta, right? Think this is 50%, right? I think if you go Seraphim, you might be able to leak here on 2. I think I tried that once. Let's see if I can get that one. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm gonna play ranked whenever I play ranked next, and I'm just gonna be like the best Fiesta player of all time. Yeah, we got 33 there. I don't even have to show you. You 100% hold with the second Harpy on wave 2. You 100% hold. But I'm thinking if you switch to the Seraphim, which is a DPS unit instead of a tank, you might leak here. This one's really close. I can't remember if this holds or not. I think it does. I guess I could stack the Harpy too. Maybe stacking the Harpy would make it leak, but I don't think so. Nah, this is just always a hold unless you get snailed. So that's why I will say Harpy Devilfish is great on 1. And then it gets a little bit difficult on 2. Probably just want to go 6 workers, maybe add a poly. Probably don't want to add a poly, to be honest. The good news is you do have the Seraphim, right? You have the Seraphim on wave 3. So you can almost push even harder. You can almost get to 7 workers with something like this. Just because of how good Seraphims are on wave 3. They just do so much damage. I'm in 195 gold, and I think I hold here. Okay, I definitely leak. I don't know why I thought I held there. But, I mean, it's not bad at all. A 50%, and that's 7 workers. That is 7 worker value right there. So I'm 7 workers, and I leaked 50%. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And interchangeable unit here is going to be... I think the Warg holds. I usually go with the Steed. The Steed should be not the best, right? It's not the best for Devilfish. Switching out for Devilfish on these Fiestas, but it does about the same thing. Right? I think it's 33 instead of 25. And it covers you, but it does pretty good on 3 as well. You're a bit weaker on 2. Yeah, so it's like not an amazing. It's 50%, right? Yeah, 58. So it's not an amazing Fiesta, but it's sort of the same idea, right? It's sort of the same idea there. So maybe it leaks on 2 to no send, even with the second Harpy. And once again, you just got to feel these things out, and something like this is sort of double replicatable, right? You're just switching out a Devilfish for a Steed. Yeah, this is so. I guess you get a much better Fiesta. You can actually still Fiesta with the second Harpy when you go Steed. So there is that. I do want to look at Pee-wees. Also, Bazookas are really good. I know I only showed it once, but Bazooka with like most tier 1s, as long as your tier 1s are in this general idea, this general area, should leak wave 1. But sometimes if you have them split, it's a little too good. So you got to be a little careful on that. I'm pretty sure with Pee-wee it leaks. Chain Fist, I believe, holds because it's fortified and the wave is fortified.
This will be a blast.
But yeah, this one is very excellent. So you could do like a looter or two, maybe 2 looters. Yeah, it's just beautiful. A buzz, right? Chain Fist is, I think, the one that you get your pants pulled down on. But yeah, I love these. Very ugly Fiesta. This is ugly to the max. Is a veteran and a Pee-wee. The problem is it is horrendous wave 2, wave 3. Right? And if you stim it, it can be even better. But this is like an average wave 1 Fiesta. But even without receiving a snail, right? Even without receiving a snail, you leak very, very badly on wave 2 and wave 3. And you're not able to push the workers. So although this can start really well, I think this is 42%. If you stimmed the Pee-wee, it's even better. Yeah, 42%. But now you have to add a bunch of Pee-wees, right? Now you have like 2-3 Pee-wees here on wave 2, which is just awful, right? So I try to avoid this one as much as possible, but I do just want to give you guys all the ideas. I just want to lay them out before you. I think I've got a lot of them. Let's look here. Let me really. Oh, we've still got boners. Another one of these, like I talked about earlier, how you only leak to ascend. So you'd go Bone Crusher on 1, and then wave 2 you're 6 workers. So you go Bone Crusher 1, wave 2 you are 6 workers.
Alright, sir.
Right? If you do not receive, I believe you hold, right? Although I might have to fix that placement with the bone. No, you hold. And if you receive a snail, then you leak. So this is another one of those where I'm 6 workers, and I leak if they send, or I hold if they don't. And then I'm 6 workers. And then I probably just go with second Bone Crusher and don't leak 3. And I've been 6 workers the entirety of the game. So you have to pick and choose what you enjoy. And then if you're trying to leak every wave, or if you're trying to leak to only sends, and then it's roll dependent too, right? Like maybe your roll only gives you leaking only to sends. Yeah, let me just check. Just keep looking and see if I'm missing any here. All the main Fiesters. You can do some wild stuff with Rangers. I tend to avoid that. I think we tried the Sea Serpent's really difficult. I think I got a lot of them, actually. Oh, we've still got Howlers. And I think Howlers and Skeletons looks like the last two. Infiltrator. You can use Infiltrator the same way I used the Steed and the Devilfish. So you go Harpy and Infiltrator. Works the exact same way. They work the exact same way. Howlers is another one of those tough ones. Because you leak average with 3, but you leak but then you don't leak with 4. So this is one where sometimes I'll get cute with it and add another tier 1. I'll add a Polywog that just dies almost instantly, or a Mask that dies almost instantly to try to improve it. Yeah, see, it's not a great Fiesta. Almost makes me think that they're weak enough that you can do 4 now. I'm gonna try 4 actually. They always make changes to the game, so it's quite possible. It's quite possible that you can actually do a 4 Howler Fiesta now. Let's test this. 4 I think is too much, but let's watch at least. Maybe if you moved them around, you could get away with 4 Howler, but here it's definitely holding. Yeah, definitely holding here. But I think with 4 Howler, you could probably get away with a leak. You could probably leak with 4 Howler with some weird positioning. Probably something like that. Which is ugly, right? And as I talked about the atoms, as I talked about so many things, if you go for those really, really weird builds, right? Yes, it might be great Fiestas at the start, but then it might fall off later on. So it's is it really worth it to sacrifice the late game for your early game? That's one of those things you have to decide. Yeah, it's so hard to do Howler Fiesta with 4. That's why I would prefer just a tier 1 like a poly, a mask, a looter, where you go 3 howler like that, and then add just little other crap. Howlers are difficult. Howlers are difficult. And then the other one I was discussing was the pirate skeleton, which is one where you only leak if you receive snails. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. Dumb. Right, you only leak if you receive a snail. I didn't place that correctly. But if it was just even, right? This is a hold, right? That's a hold, just so you know. But if you get snailed on wave 1 or wave 2, you leak. Wave 1, it's a 58%. Wave 2, it's very low. Wave 2, it's a very good Fiesta. And the good thing with this is that usually you can just go straight to the scallywag. So in a perfect world, please, right? If you leaked wave 1 and wave 2 to snails, and you stayed 5 worker, right? If you stay 5 worker, then you can just get the spectral scallywag and just sui push, just full push. So there can be advantages to that. But I think that's just about it for all the Fiesta openers that I know of, that I would use in most games. I might be missing some. Oh my goodness, Wilshire. But I hope this has been super helpful. Let me just check over my stuff one more time here, see if I got everything. An hour and 35 to 40 minutes. Holy moly. Yeah, I think I described pretty well about how Fiesta works, how perfect world you're leaking wave 1 through 4, aiming for 40%, only really Fiesta past wave 4, 5, 6. I mean, 5, 6 is like the gray area, but only Fiesta later than that. If you're going for Ascend, like an 8, a 9, a 10, like whatever wave you're aiming for, maybe Fiesting the wave before is okay. Especially if there's overwork or PTA and you're going for a big 12 send. Yeah, definitely don't Fiesta too hard. Know that it does affect your teammates quite dramatically, right? It's going to change how they play the game or how they're forced to play the game. I didn't get into this, but just since I'm saying the teammate thing, sometimes, unfortunately, your teammate is Fiesting the same game you are, even though they're not Fiesta. And you are probably better off not Fiesting. This does happen from time to time, and you really have to understand how your teammates are playing. Right? If your teammates are actually playing more aggressive than you and your Fiesta, sometimes you gotta like take one for the team and just stop Fiesting. I know you want a Fiesta because that's your mastermind, but you also want to win the game. What pairs well? Anglers, Cartel, Kingsguard are gonna be your big 3. Try not to pair it with Sakura and Bigwigs or Eggs, right? Or Castle, right? Sometimes Castle can work. I know I said it doesn't, but sometimes it can. I just think that if you're both starting with no extra gold, no extra income, it doesn't really make sense. And then hope a lot of these Fiesta openers are useful. Once again, if you guys enjoyed the video and want more guides, please like, please subscribe, please comment what other guides you're looking forward to, and hope this was useful. And I'll see you guys in the rest of your games and videos. Take it easy.